And so you might even have friends or even married friends that you go to with issues about your spouse, and they don't always have the answer. They're not always supportive of the actions that they might have. And when we talk to them, we really over exaggerate a lot of our what we're going through. So then their responses are always well, you shouldn't be with that person, or maybe you guys should not be together. And then those are just negative seeds that are planted into your head.
Right, and what Dawn means by that over exaggeration part is just that when you're upset with your spouse and you share it with your friend, you really amplify it. You really, oh, he did this again, and I've told him 1,000 times not to do this again. Now we're excluding physical abuse. That, I mean, we're excluding abuse here. Obviously, if you're in a situation where there's abuse in your marriage at that kind of level, then you need to go seek some help, and certainly you can get that through a friend. A friend can help you do that. We're excluding that. We're talking about that everyday stuff that you just end up complaining about, to your friends, on and on and on, and it builds up. And you're painting a picture to your friends of who your spouse is. So then when it comes time, when things really get difficult in your relationship, in your marriage, those friends, all they remember is the spouse that you talked about that wasn't good, and that's what they support. Well, you should leave him then, or you should leave her. You shouldn't put up with that. And they don't know both sides of the story.
Exactly.
That's something Don and I as counselors, we've learned a long time ago, that there's two sides of the story, and everyone has a perspective, and everyone's right to the extent of what they're experiencing, but how they handle it can be different. So we really want you to know that. And like Don said, even if your friends are married couples, they have issues in their relationship, and they might support you to leave your relationship, even if that's not the best thing that you should do, because they kind of want to leave theirs, and they're going to kind of live vicariously through you. Maybe give them some support to get out of the relationship they're not so happy with. Again, we can't stress enough that we're not talking about verbal and physical major abuse relationships that you shouldn't be in. We're just talking about that a lot of people paint pictures with their friends of the negative things that are going on in their relationship. So it's not your friends you should be talking to, it's your spouse you should be talking to. And then you should come together as one world. One thing I always like to mention, Don, is that when we get married, and especially when we have children, that's a new life, and that's a new world. And I know a lot of psychologists out there like to say, well, those children are coming into your world and they need to adapt to your world. Well, that's just not true. You have a new world with those children in your life, and you have to adapt to that. And that is what's key here. Too many parents think that the children just have to deal with who we are and the way we are in our world. Your children should be part of changing you in a positive way, and if you're already in a positive way, enhancing that. They're here to lift us up, yeah, and to help us be who we are.
Right, and that just wraps it up with opening the lines of communication and a whole new level of communication with you and your spouse, because you're obviously communicating about your parents. And then again, the parenting key is how to be being a disciplined parent. Being a disciplined parent is doing what you're supposed to be doing, when you're supposed to be doing it, the way you're supposed to be doing it, and doing it that way all the time. And again, just a little words of encouragement is that just remember that you're not single anymore, and you are now here to do things as a family. And
absolutely. And we write these things down, and you should too. What I want to mention is, even if you're a single parent, you're a parent now, okay? And we understand there's a need to connect. We know that there's a spouse out there for you, and we know that you'll pursue that. But the way you pursue that as a parent is different than the way you pursued that when you were single,
right,
and not a parent. And you have a child now that you have to take an account in. We know it's very difficult in those situations not to, you go one way or another, either really go out there looking for someone because you need a parent for your child and a spouse for yourself, and then others that just kind of withdraw. So you really want to pray about that, but the biggest thing to realize is that you are a parent, so the way that you do things are going to be different. So even though you're a single parent, you're not just a single person, you're a single parent, and that makes a big difference. We've experienced that. So to kind of put this all together, there's the three separate worlds. We're talking about being disciplined in your communication. And there's three separate worlds, and that's the world that you have with your friends, your girlfriends if you're the wife, or your guy friends as the husband. And some of you guys have girlfriends, and some of you girls have guy friends too. So it's the same thing, just friends that you have previous to the marriage or what have you. And then there's the world that you have with your with your children. You know, we just seen that you'll come together for the children and do things, but then you'll go your separate ways. And what we're saying is that does not produce good communication. You're sharing things with others that you should be sharing with each other. You really need to get through some difficult times together, not with other people. And your children, like Dawn had pointed out, they need that connection with you you know, to learn how to communicate, not only with themselves and with you, but in the future with their spouses.
Exactly. So you'll be surprised that when you stop talking about your spouse and start talking with your spouse, then you just rise to a whole new level of communication, and that not only enhances your own marriage, but you'll see it with the communication with your children also.
I think that's my favorite part. Start talking with your spouse instead of about your spouse. Now, if you're going to talk about your spouse, it should be good things. You know, I remember when we coached this one lady, a wonderful woman, and she used to say, "Oh, I've been praying for my husband," and then she'd get upset with him and start calling him names and getting all upset and just kind of negating all those prayers for her relationship. So when you do talk about your spouse, talk good things. But more importantly, you need to talk.
And you can find all of this in our guide to parenting.
Absolutely. You know, that guide is a downloadable guide. That's what's so neat, is that you can just go on right now and purchase that. And when you do, it becomes, I think, a PDF form, and you can download it right away to your computer. That's got our book in it, Your Child is Already a Genius, Free Their Spirit. It has 4 weeks, a whole month of parenting exercises, which are wonderful. Really opens up not only your communication between you and your husband or wife, but really opens up the way you communicate with your children. That's powerful. And it's got our top 7 keys in there to parenting, which is very, very important. Some of the stuff that we're sharing now, but in more detail. So you really want to get that. And we always say you want to get that before you even get our DVDs and CDs, because that really sets the stage for the rest of the resources that we have. And that's all on our website at www.bringthefamilytogether.com. You want to check that out. We're really excited about that. And we just want to thank you again for letting us share with you. Today it was about communicate the discipline of a communicative parent and spouse, leaving those 3 separate worlds and being in the one world that's been created as your family. And you walk in those blessings that are in that world. And Dawn and I just thank you for being part of it. God bless you, and have an awesome day.